Hey Finxters, and welcome to today's tutorial where I will show you the Python range function. So this is a full tutorial of the Python range function. And the idea is very simple. So the Python range function, you call it with the keyword. So it's actually a built-in function. You don't have to import anything. Range. Then you have the opening parenthesis, and then you have some arguments. And there are basically three different ways of calling the range function with three different sets of arguments. And the range function produces an iterable of subsequent integers within a given range of values. So you can either pass only a stop argument, like in this example. This is my son by the way, who is talking. Gabriel, kann ich kurz weitermachen? Leise sein, ja? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so you have the range function with stop argument, and it produces, so if you pass a stop argument, say 5, with only one argument, then it would go from 0 to 5, but 5 excluded, increasing the numbers by 1, because the step size per default is 1. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is also the result of our range function with only one argument. So we can try this in a notebook, for example. You can you can use it as follows: for I in range 5, print I. And if you run this code, you see the result is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it goes from 0 to 4 included, and 5 is not excluded. So the stop argument is not included. And this is the default way of calling the range function. But there are also other ways of calling the same range function and of passing different set of parameters into it. So what are they? Let's see. So the second way is to call it like this. So we have, this is the second way. So we have again the same, say 6 example values from 0 to 5 included. And now we pass 2 arguments into the range function. And now if you pass only one argument into the range function, it uses a default start value and default step size. Start value of 0, step size of 1, and if you pass 2 arguments, then it will automatically take the first argument as a start value and the second argument as a stop value. And now it gives us the whole range from the start integer number to the stop integer number, but the stop number will not be included. And you can see this example here. So now we pass 1 and 5 into the range function. 1 is taken as a start value, so it starts with the element at index 1 basically from this virtual list that we have. So we start with 1, we start with a start value, now we increment the subsequent values by 1, default step size is 1, and we go until we reach stop value of 5, but this is excluded, so 5 will not be included in the range. Okay, and we can try this here. Say we add now a start value, say start value 1. Now, if you execute this code snippet, it should start with the value 1 and go until it reaches value 4. And let's see if this happens. Yes, actually this is the case. Okay, and now there is a third way of calling the function. This is with 3 arguments. So let me quickly open the image. So now here, this range function, we can also call it with 3 arguments. And if you pass 3 arguments into the range function, it will take the first argument as a start value, the second as a stop value. This we have already seen in the previous example. But now it will take the third argument as the step size. And I've already talked twice about the step size in this video. And the step size is just that. It's the numerical difference between 2 subsequent values of our range iterable, that is the return value of the range function. And you see now we can we have start 1, which means that we start with the element 1, with integer 1. We have stop 5, which means we stop in integer 5, which is excluded, so we would never take integer 5 into consideration. And we take every other element, so we have step size 2. We take every second element in our list. So we start with 1, now we take 3, which is the second element. If the step size was 3, we would take 4 as the element. Okay, so let's try this. So here we can modify this. We can have step size 2. For example, if we print the code, we obtain 1 and 3 as expected. If we have step size 3, we will print the code 1 and 4. Okay, so these are the three main ways of using the range function. There's a fourth one that I want to show you, and this is the negative step size. Negative step size is quite common, not so common for as the other three argument sets, but sometimes you will also see it. Yeah, negative step size is just that. So you have a negative step size argument like here, -2. And what does it mean? It means that now if the step size is negative, then two subsequent elements, so the next element will be smaller than the previous element. And this is different to our initial three cases. So we start with a large value 4. So we start on the right, and start is always included, so the element 4 is included. Now we have negative step size with step like negative -2 or -2 as a step size. So we have 4 minus 2 is 2. Now we have 2 minus 2 is 0, but 0 is already the stop index. Stop index is never included, so we basically have a range of 2 elements only with this in this example. So we can try this again. We can replace like with the given example 4, 0, -2. If you run the code, we get our results 4 and 2. And if we have -1, the difference between the elements will be 1, you see, so it will be -1. And you can also have like larger step sizes, 3. And if we now increase the step size even more, then it will have only 1 element, right? Because it will always take the start element into consideration. So these are the 4 cases. Like the fourth case is basically a special case of the third case. So we have a step size, and the step size can also be negative. And this is very similar to slicing. There are other tutorials about slicing on the Finxter YouTube channel and also the Finxter blog. So so this is a range function. This is how the range function works. I think we have addressed most of it. Just one short note: if you print the result of a range function, say range 5, if you print this, you obtain a range object as a result. Okay, so why is that? So why don't you obtain 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which you would have expected? The reason is simple. So Python doesn't actually generate the numbers until it has to. It just generates an iterable. It just generates the object, and the object will then dynamically generate the elements as you pull them from the object. Okay, so like this object, there are different ways of implementing this range object, right? And you could either create a list and store all the values in this list. But for example, if you had a very large list, say of 1 million elements, you would create a list with 1 million elements and then print one element after the other to the shell or so. And this would mean that you create all those elements at once. So the memory could really blow up, and it could really kill your machines if they would have chosen this way of implementing it. So therefore they decided, we have the range object, we have like an iterable, we have the current pointer to our virtual list of elements, and now we just create the next element from the previous element, right? And this is very simple with the range function, because if we have, so say we are at element 1, we have just generated element 1, step size is 2, now we simply add 2 to 1, so we have 1 plus 2 is 3, this is the next element. So we at each point the range object has to take only one memory location, basically. So for one integer element, it doesn't have to go like to blow up the memory and generate all the values at once. And this is just more efficient implementation. Okay, so I think this is the whole. Now I've covered the whole topic. Thanks for listening to this video. We generate a number of those videos at our Python email academy. You can check it out in the description below. Also check out our range of books. Like the Python One-Liners book and the Coffee Break Python series of self-published books. We also have a new book called Leaving the Red Race with Python that shows you exactly how you can increase your skills by earning money as you learn Python by being a Python freelancer. And I share you my journey starting out as a freelance developer and creating my own coding business online. Good. So thanks for watching this video, and have a nice day. Stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye.